Okay, this question is very, very involved indeed. Before we can even talk about a stratified sample based on gender and age, we've got to talk about the absolute numbers in each stratum. For example, we need to look at the question, work out how many adult males there are, adult females, male children, female children. In other words, men, women, boys and girls. So, or the situation is we've got a storyline whereby a leisure centre wants to interview staff about the possibility of changing its opening times, and looking at their customer base, they need to ask an appropriate number from each grouping that I mentioned earlier. So I've got 5,894 members, and I've got 4,004 females. So guess what? The remainder has got to be 1,890 males. Is that alright? That's what I've got so far. So let's just write this down. I've got that many males, that many females. So it's like a little note to self. So that's one bit done so far. It says 3/4 of the female members are adults. Let's work out how many women you've got. So 3/4 of the females are the adults, and I calculated that to be 3,003 women. Well, if it's that many women, I'm going to work out how many girls I've got. So if I take away the 3,003, I'm going to be left with 1,001 girls. Alright, I'm told that 70% of the male members are adults, in other words the men, so 70% of the males, which I calculated earlier, are adults, and I calculated that to be 1,323, and that's men, and therefore the leftovers are going to be boys, and that are made 5, 6, 7 boys. Right? So that's the numbers that we've got. I'll transfer that over to the other page and carry on with that. So what do we got here? We've got men. So the men were 1, 3, 2, 3. The boys were 5, 6, 7. The women, that's the adult women, that is 3,003, and the girls, the remaining 1,001. So these are my absolute numbers, and as you can see, to have a sample of 200, perhaps one might say, oh, we'll take 50 from each because 4 50s make 200. Well, we've agreed from previous videos that we can't do that, because look at the number of men and women compared to the number of boys and girls, so you must have an appropriate number, a proportionate number from each stratum. So let's just deal with adult males first, in other words the men. How many men should we interview then? Well, it's this many out of the entire sample of that 5,894. It's this fraction of 200, and that will give us, I've made that, where's that from previously? Yes, I've made that 44.89 men. Why don't we call that 45 and see if it totals to 200 later on. So we'll start with that for the men. We'll then do the boys. Now the boys are going to be 567 over the entire population of that centre. 5,894, multiply that by 200, and that will give us 19.2 young boys. So we're looking at approximately 19 to survey. And then let's go to the women. Women 3,003, all over same number, population 5,894. Multiply that by the sample size of 200. We would get 101.9, so we're looking at interviewing 102 women. Alright, and makes sense, doesn't it? There's far more women there than there are men. So, and last step of all, the girls. Oh, missed out the L. Girls. How many girls we got? Right, 1,001 divided by 5,894. Multiply that by 200, and that will give us 33 0.96 little girls, and therefore let's talk to 34 of them. 34. Now quick sum, 45, 19, 102 and 34, I did work out earlier, is exactly 200. So I'm not going to worry about changing some higher or some lower. So for example, I won't call that 20, I won't call that 101 just to balance the books. It comes to exactly 200 people being interviewed. So let's just take a look, put them in the right place. The men, 45, the boys, 19, the ladies, 102, and the young girls, 34. That does in fact come up to 200. So there we are. Quite a difficult question. There's plenty to do. We had to unravel all the mathematics to find the absolute number of boys, girls, women and men, and then take the stratified sample for each stratum, for each grouping. And had they asked how would you go about selecting those 45 male adults, those 45 men, well, you can assign each man, each 1,323 of the men, a number, and then you generate random numbers from the calculator, and the first 45 numbers that come up, these are the guys that you interview. All right. And I think I've got time and space to the last question, and it's actually really easy. And there's nothing grade A that I can see about this, although there's a stratified sample there, clearly so. Right, 600 members in a sports club. A stratified sample by age is taken. The table shows the age groupings of the members, and some info has been given to us in the table. We're supposed to copy and complete the table. Alright, so let's go for blue. It's a bit of contrast. And let's just thicken it up a little bit. Alright, so where can I go? I know that all these numbers, these four numbers, will add up to 600 eventually. Alright, now I can see that for 120 61 plus year olds, I need a sample of 20. Therefore, what I've done is done that, haven't I? Okay, so basically the sample is a sixth of the original number in each category. Therefore, if I divide my 120 by 6, I'll get 20. So if I take my 22 45 60 year olds and multiply that by 6, because it's the same proportion, don't forget, 6 of those is 132. That's dead easy, isn't it? Now look, I've got 1, 2, 3 numbers there. I know the whole grouping must add up to 600 because it says so. So I'm going to find the missing number, which is 198. You can check it later. I've done this previously, so I know it's right. Now I can then work out the sample that goes here. What do I do to 198 25 to 44 year olds to get a sample? Well, let's just divide by 6 to find a sixth of that number, and that will give me a sample of 33 for that stratum. Similarly, divide that by 6 and I will get 150 divided by 6, 25. There you go, and that's my sample that I require for this situation to be true. So I've completed the table. I've worked out 2 numbers for each grouping there, each stratum there, and I've worked out the 2 missing sample sizes required for the other 2 sample sizes. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Dead easy question, and I'll stop